There's a moment right before the end when you realize it's over. Not the loud, dramatic kind of ending that comes with shouting or tears. No, it's quieter than that, subtle, like a shadow creeping across a room. For Oliver and me, that moment came on a Tuesday evening. We were sitting on opposite ends of the couch, the space between us feeling like an ocean. He was scrolling through his phone, something work-related, while I stared at the blank TV screen, my thoughts miles away. We hadn't fought, not recently anyway, but the silence was heavy, full of unspoken words and unmet expectations. I feel like we're just existing, I said finally, breaking the stillness. Oliver looked up, his brow furrowed.
What do you mean?
I hesitated, searching for the right words. I mean, us, it doesn't feel like it used to. He set his phone down, his expression shifting to something softer, sadder.
I know.
Those two words hit me harder than I expected. I'd been bracing myself for resistance, for denial, but his agreement only confirmed what I'd been avoiding. We were slipping away from each other, and neither of us knew how to stop it. The days that followed were a blur of half-hearted attempts to rekindle what we'd lost. We tried another date night, but the conversation felt forced, the silences stretching longer than they should. We revisited the places that once held meaning for us. The cafe where we'd shared our first real conversation, the park where he'd told me he loved me, but they felt hollow, like ghosts of a past we couldn't reclaim. One night, as we lay in bed, I turned to him. "Do you think we're trying too hard?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. He didn't answer right away. When he finally spoke, his words were measured, deliberate.
I think, maybe we've reached the end of the road.
The end of the road. It was such a simple phrase, but it carried the weight of everything we'd built together, now unraveling before our eyes. I wanted to argue, to tell him he was wrong, but deep down, I knew he wasn't. Our breakup wasn't dramatic. There were no raised voices, no accusations. It was almost clinical in its precision, the way we divided our lives into neat little boxes. I took the bookshelves, he kept the record player. We split the kitchenware evenly, though I let him keep the blender he loved so much. It was a process, methodical and detached, and yet every step felt like a knife to the chest. The hardest part was leaving the apartment. It had been our sanctuary, the place where we'd shared so many moments, both good and bad. As I packed up the last of my things, I found a stack of old photos tucked in a drawer. One of them caught my eye, a picture of us at the art museum, laughing so hard I could practically hear the sound through the frame. I traced my finger over the image, a lump forming in my throat.
You okay?
Oliver asked, standing in the doorway. I looked up, forcing a smile. Yeah, just saying goodbye. He nodded, his expression unreadable.
Take your time.
The first few weeks after the breakup were the hardest. I threw myself into work, into hobbies, into anything that could distract me from the emptiness I felt. But no matter how busy I kept myself, the silence of my new apartment was deafening. I missed him. Not just his presence, but the way he made me feel grounded. The way he challenged me in all the best ways. But as the days turned into weeks, something else began to emerge. A sense of clarity. I started to see our relationship for what it truly was, not just what I'd wanted it to be. We had loved each other deeply, but we had also been fundamentally different. My Gemini heart had craved novelty and excitement, while his steady nature longed for stability and routine. We had tried to bridge that gap, but in the end, it had been too wide. One rainy afternoon, I found myself walking through the city, my thoughts swirling like the storm clouds overhead. I stopped at a coffee shop, ordered a cappuccino, and sat by the window, watching the rain streak down the glass. It was a moment of stillness, rare for someone like me, and in that quiet, I allowed myself to reflect. I thought about Oliver, about the way he had grounded me when I felt like I was spinning out of control. I thought about the moments of joy we'd shared, the laughter, the intimacy. And I thought about the moments of tension, the times when I felt stifled, like I was losing pieces of myself to fit into his world. Being a Gemini means living with duality, always caught between two extremes, always searching for balance. In my relationship with Oliver, I had experienced both the thrill of connection and the ache of compromise. And though it hadn't worked out, I didn't regret a single moment of it. As I sipped my coffee, I noticed a man at the next table engrossed in a book. He had a kind face, a quiet intensity that reminded me of Oliver in some ways, but there was something different about him too. Something intriguing. Our eyes met briefly and he smiled, a small, hesitant smile that sent a flicker of curiosity through me. For the first time in weeks, I felt a spark. It wasn't love, not yet, but it was something. And for a Gemini like me, that was enough to start. As I left the coffee shop, I felt the weight of my past begin to lift. Oliver had been an important part of my story, but he wasn't the end of it. There were still so many pages left to write, so many connections to explore. And as I walked into the rain, my heart felt a little lighter, a little freer, ready to embrace whatever came next.